Thanks for watching miasnewpairofglasses.com and welcome to part 17, the beginning of the end, in the Masters and Controllers series. Everything I have shown you in this series so far is for you to understand how such a massive deception can be pulled off and the whole world believes it. All that they have done has been to get them to this point. Full control over the minds of the world for one goal: to prevent mass chaos so that they can get to their location exactly when they have chosen to, and to survive. So because this is the absolute most important story we can follow at this point, we're going to go back to the novel coronavirus, now being referred to as COVID-19. Why am I continuing to talk about this story? Because all the planning in the world won't matter if you don't get out in time and you cannot go anywhere. Extreme weather continues around the world, but the threat that will stop everyone in their tracks way before the weather will is a lockdown due to a quarantine. Is it COVID-19 or is it covert ID-19? And when we talk about the timeline later in this video, you'll understand why it is covert ID-19. Covert, hidden, private, secret, concealed. 13th century from Old French couvert, modern French couvert. Hidden, obscure, underhanded, literally covered. Past participle of couvrir, to cover. So cov in COVID-19 and in covert is present in all words that have to do with hidden. Coverage, coverall, covered, covering, coverlet, covert, coverture, cover-up, covet, coveted, and covetous. On October 18th of 2019, Event 201 was held, or if you look closely, Event 21, taking out the globe. This was supposedly a tabletop exercise of a simulated pandemic that they coincidentally used a coronavirus pandemic as the feature of this simulation that they refer to as CAPS. In this simulation, they covered every single effect of what would happen should a worldwide pandemic occur, everything that we have started to see happen now.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree, unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere. The outcome of the CAPS pandemic in Event 201 was catastrophic. 65 million people died in the first 18 months. The outbreak was small at first and initially seemed controllable, but then it started spreading in densely crowded and impoverished neighborhoods of megacities. From that point on, the spread of the disease was explosive. Within 6 months, cases were occurring in nearly every country. The global economy was in a free fall. The GDP down 11%. Stock markets around the world plummeted between 20 and 40% and headed into a downward cycle of fear and low expectation. Businesses were not borrowing, banks were not lending. Everyone was just hoping to hunker down and weather the storm. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years, perhaps a decade. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad? Are there things we could have done in the 5 to 10 years leading up to the pandemic that would have lessened the catastrophic consequences? We believe the answer is yes. So, are we as a global community now finally ready to do the hard work needed to prepare for the next pandemic?
Event 201, or Event 21, was coincidentally put on by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which I covered in a previous video. At the exact same time, on the exact same date, October 18th, 2019, the 7th annual Military World Games was held, and it was held in the capital of Hubei Province in Wuhan, China, the supposed epicenter of the 2019 coronavirus. What are the chances that these two exercises would be held on the exact same date? Leaders of the world's medical community discussing a simulated coronavirus at one event, and the world's military leaders at another event at the epicenter of a virus that had not started yet. The perfect cover to get the world's military leaders under a one world government that has existed for 50 plus years to prepare for the pandemic that was already planned to take place, and all the measures that would need to be finalized before going into martial law in countries across the world. Then, in just over a month, the first proclaimed case of the 2019 coronavirus was on December 1st, 2019, centered in Wuhan, China. Since that point, they have slowly introduced the progression of this virus to the world through the media. This has been to slowly introduce this new reality of what life will be like to the public over a period of months, to create controlled panic. Why does the world so readily believe in this virus, though there is no proof a virus even exists, and everything they are told is really a lie? Because they have already been conditioned. They start when kids are young and the mind can be easily molded. This next scene is from the movie Snowpiercer, showing the real purpose of school and how they hid history and took hold of the youth. Then we will watch a real video of current times.
I heard old tales sectioners were lazy dogs who slept all day in their own shit.
No, they're very nice and very just and merciful. So it is.
Minister Mason, we were just about to show a video.
Very good.
From a very young age, Mr. Wilford's love of locomotives was apparent.
When I grow up, I'll move on a train forever.
His early dreams were realized when he founded his transportation empire, the Wilford Industries. But his greatest dream was to construct a luxury locomotive cruise line connecting railways of the entire world into one.
A circular railway that extends for 438,000 kilometers and completes one circle every year. Impervious to the extreme cold of the Arctic and the scorching heat of the African desert, Wilford's miracle train is self-sustaining and possesses the most sophisticated design and advanced technology known.
As hard as it is to believe, people in the old world made fun of Mr. Wilford. They criticized him for over-engineering and over-equipping this wonderful train. But Mr. Wilford knew something they did not. And what was that?
Old world people were frigging morons who got turned into popsicles.
Well, sort of. Mr. Wilford knew that CW7 would freeze the world. So what did the prophetic Mr. Wilford invent to protect the chosen from that calamity? Rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle, it will never die! What happens if the engine stops? We all freeze and die. But will it stop or will it stop? No, no! Can you tell us why the engine is
I love that one. Such a tonic. Oh.
Wash your hands, do-do-do-do-do. Wash your hands, do-do-do-do-do. Wash your hands.
A simple instruction to us all.
Use some soap, do-do-do-do-do.
As catchy as the song that inspired this class in Belfast.
Keep them clean, do-do-do-do-do. Keep them clean.
What happens if the engine stops? We all freeze and die.
So how do you make a non-existent virus real to the public? You need control over authority figures, government organizations, the World Health Organization and the CDC, and the world military. You need control over official media sources. You need staged videos and photos to play on the media over and over again. Then you just need the population to parrot the official narrative. Most are said to have no symptoms at all, or mild symptoms, basically the same symptoms as a cold or a flu. You then have medical professionals supposedly test people, and the results come back that they have the virus, even though there are no symptoms of any sickness present. Those people go and tell others that they themselves have the virus, or that they know someone who has it, though none ever present any symptoms, or they just present symptoms of a common cold or virus. That spreads among communities, and then the virus becomes real. Have infected patients really been mistakenly released into the public? Of course not. But they need a worldwide pandemic, so they had to have an excuse planned for how the virus got out. That is how they planned for people to believe that it spread out into the world. You have the media report on these supposed blunders where positive people have been let out to the public, giving the excuse of how the disease spreads. How do you explain the uncontrolled spreading of a fake virus, even with safeguards in place? And how do you extend the amount of time you can keep people quarantined? You extend the incubation period. It was initially said to be 14 days, but now, quote, experts have said that it can be up to 24 days. Now you have the minimum of a month-long period where you can quarantine the population, and you have a month where someone can have no symptoms but can have and spread the virus while it goes completely undetected. You tell the public they can have the virus for a month and pass it to others, even though nobody ever has any symptoms. Why is a fake pandemic the perfect excuse? People have an idea of what martial law will look like from the movies, but in reality, they won't need much law enforcement or military by scaring people into not leaving their homes through fear of a pandemic. The plan of a fake virus is the best possible excuse. Normally, they promote travel and tourism, but now it is clear that they are trying to get everyone to stay put, even though it is terrible for business and economies. If they're not scaring people with fears of catching a virus, they're enacting new regulations like the Real ID. Starting October 1st of 2020, new rules go into effect for the United States. In order to travel, you must have a Real ID. You cannot fly in domestic flights or abroad without having a Real ID. A Real ID must be obtained through the DMV and takes at least 4 forms of identification, way more than you would need for a regular driver's license or identification card. Most people don't even know about this new regulation and that they won't be able to get on a plane without one. And it is said that DMVs are overwhelmed with requests and cannot fulfill the demands of getting the necessary real IDs for people that want to fly. There are many other reasons that this fake pandemic is being used as we get closer to the EMCO. It is the perfect tool to hide the farming crisis and food shortage by using the excuse that it's because of quarantine and transportation problems that there will be no food on the shelves. They don't need to go house to house to round people up as we go into the final stages of lockdown before the EMCO. When people run out of food and there is nothing on the shelves at the store, and they shut off water and power, they can get people to go wherever they want them to go. People will be forced to go where there is food, water, and power. The public will be at the mercy of the controllers, at places that have been planned to be used as shelters for many years, and all independence that anyone has will be lost. Unlike the rest of the world, we all know how close we are to the EMCO. We all know that it is right around the corner. We know the problems that will happen if this world goes into lockdown, and we know that they would never risk destabilizing the world unless they had some reason to do it. Look at how much has happened since December 1st, when they claimed the first coronavirus case, and we still have months and months for them to solidify remaining measures of control. Now we are on the brink of schools closing all over the world, travel bans, and an economic collapse. And this is why I'm still covering this topic, and I'm telling you that this should be your main priority of watching what they are saying on the media of what is happening, because the weather is not our most imminent threat at this point. It is being unable to move about freely in the world up until the point where you plan to leave. So, it could be that this is not the final excuse, but I would plan for worst case scenario that it is. And I would make sure that you have your affairs in order, that you have enough food, water, and supplies at your home just in case. It's better to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. But it does not look like they're slowing down on this story. And remember, it goes slow. They're going to slowly enact measures to get people used to things before they enact a new round of measures. Because as I've stated many times before, you do not want to end up in a shelter. That will be the worst place to be when things break down.
Fear has driven thousands in Daegu into a panic-buying frenzy. They queued for hours, even sprinting to the back of the line in the hope of getting a face mask. But some had to leave empty-handed.
And unlike the rest of the world, who will be operating out of fear of catching a virus, you all will know the real story of what's going on, and that all this is being done, this pandemic deception is being done because of the coming catastrophe, and that will help you make the decisions that you need to make that are best for you. Hopefully by covering this topic and showing you the timeline and all the ways that this fits into what we already know, that you understand that we do not have until the time that the sun continues to go north to get out. When exactly you will need to leave, I cannot say. Only you can make that decision. But I know that we don't have until the time the sun goes north. That's all I have for you guys today. Everybody stay safe, be good to one another, and God bless.